Hi, in this video on algebraic techniques, we take a look at the notation that we use when we're writing algebraic sentences. By the end of this video, I hope that you'll be able to write those sentences using the shortened algebraic notation. So what is algebraic notation? Algebraic notation is just how we write sentences that uses algebra. Remember, algebra is just the use of letters to represent numbers. So we're going to be writing things like 3 plus 2 and 4 plus 5, but instead of just using numbers, we might have a plus b or 2a minus 6. So let's take a look at the four operations that we're going to be using: plus, minus, times, and divide. Now for plus and minus, there's no difference between an algebraic sentence and the normal arithmetic sentence that you're used to. If I wanted to add 3 and 2 together and I wanted to use some algebra, I could just write something like a plus b. If I wanted to take away using algebra, it would be the same thing. I would just write an a, take away b. There's no change. Even if I was to have more complex algebraic terms, it still would have the plus in between the two terms that I'm using, or the minus. But when it comes to times and divide, there's a slightly different way that we do it. If I wanted to write 3 times 2, I would have the times symbol in between the 3 and the 2. But if I want to write a times b, in algebra we want to shorten the way that we write these things. And so what we do is we just take away that times symbol and we put the two letters next to each other. So whenever we see two letters next to each other, that means to multiply a times b. So in this case, AB means a times b. With divided by, when we're using arithmetic, we would put the divided by symbol between the 4 and the 2. But if I wanted to do a divided by b, instead of writing it with a divided by symbol, it's much easier just to write it like a fraction, a over b. This means divided by. So a over b means a with a divided by symbol, b. So sentences like this, that look really long and complex, well, I can just replace that first a times b with ab. I then put the plus symbol down and I can replace the c times d with cd, making it a much shorter sentence. If I had something like p divided by 2q, I could replace that divided by symbol with a fraction line. So p divided by 2q would be p over 2q. Numbers should always go first when we're writing a term, and the letters that we have should be in alphabetic order. So if I was to write 2 times p times q and I wanted to make that shorter, all I would do is write 2pq. They would all be next to each other. If I had the same letters and the same numbers but in a different order, when I simplify this, when I get rid of those time symbols, I wouldn't write qp2. What I would do is I would get rid of those time symbols and I would have the number first followed by the pq second. Those two things are exactly the same. So now I want to talk about creating algebraic expressions for you and re-looking at what the words mean to get that symbol, for example, plus. So we're looking at words like more than, add, plus, sum, and greater than. All those words will mean use the plus symbol. So if I wanted you to write an algebraic expression for me for 6 more than m and the sum of p and q, all I would be doing is using the plus symbol instead of the words more than. So for the example, the first one, it would just be 6 plus m. That's 6 more than m. For the second one, instead of writing the sum of p and q, I can just write p plus q. It is a much shorter way of writing the same sentence. The same can be done for less than. All these words mean the same thing: less than, minus, subtract, difference, and take away. So if I wanted you to write an algebraic expression for things like 3 minus y and 5 less than 2p, 3 minus y would just be a 3, then the minus symbol, then a y. That is 3 minus y. For 5 less than 2p, I actually have to start with the 2p because I want to get the number 5, that is 5 below it, or 5 less than it. So in this case, it would be 2p take away 5 and not the other way around. If I wanted to write a sentence that uses the times symbol, I would have to be looking for words like product, times, multiply, double, or even triple. So if I want you to write an algebraic sentence for something like the product of c and d, or maybe even double x, the product of c and d, I would have to write c times d. But I don't want to write the times symbol, I want to write it even shorter, so I would just write cd. For double x, that would be 2 lots of x. But again, we don't want to write that time symbol, so double x would just be 2x. And finally, the divided by symbol. We're looking for words like divided by, half, shared, quotient. All those words mean use the divided by symbol. Oops. So, when I want you to write an algebraic expression for the quotient of c and d, or even half of x, The quotient of C and D would be C divided by D. But when we write a sentence using a divided by symbol, we write it as a fraction, C over D. For half of x, that would be x divided by 2. Or, instead of using the divided by symbol, x over 2. It's also worth noting that you could also have written half of x with a half in front of an x. So what should you write so that you get something out of this lesson? Well, it's important to know that 2a and 2 times a and 3pq means 3 times p times q. It's important that you know that, and how to write divided by symbols without actually using the divided by symbol. So we can write divided by questions without that symbol. It's also worthwhile writing down again the words and the examples that we went through for the 4 operations to write the algebraic expressions. So pause the video, rewind, get those 5 slides down so that you have them in your book. And that's it. Hopefully this video helps you to create sentences that use the shortened algebraic notation. You should know that 2a means 2 times a and b over 3 means b divided by 3. And you should also know what symbols match with what words for plus, times, divided by, and minus. Good luck.